Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And if you're watching the recording, great to have you here as well. Today, we are talking about our product update webinar, our usual monthly feature, and this one is on March 26th today. So we have a few things we want to touch base on. First off, if I haven't met you before, this is only my second product update meeting as the VP of Strategic Engagement and Growth at Pressbooks. So it's nice to meet you all. My name's Amanda Coolidge, and I've really enjoyed working with this team here at Pressbooks, and I'm excited to share with you what's been happening in the last month. So we do have some new info, some updates and resources that are coming out regarding the translation work, some more work on the content toolkit, and other fixes. I want to, as usual, talk about some client research opportunities, some upcoming webinars, and also some upcoming conferences that we might see you at. And then, as always, we invite you to share what's happening in your neck of the woods.
Hello, everyone. Yes, so we've been working really hard on translations. So we adopted a new tool for translating Pressbooks into other languages. So now successfully migrated our translation infrastructure to Crowdin. So this means that it will be easier for interested people to translate the Pressbooks interface into other languages. So also we are improving the documentation for anyone interested in translating or reviewing translations, and that's coming soon. So everything in Pressbooks interface will be available for translation with automated workflows. So this was not the case previously. So you will notice and you will start notice that we have now like better French support and also French Canadian support and Spanish. So yeah, this is coming. We have the platform ready and it's good.
Awesome. Thanks, Oz.
This is a reminder that now our directory it's translated in French and Spanish. So now you can have the user interface in those languages, and probably more languages are coming later. That's it.
Thank you. All right, so we have our Pressbooks users guide here, and what we wanted to share with you is that we mentioned this last time, but just wanted a reminder that we are working on a translation of the Pressbooks user guide into French. We will let you know when the expected release date for that is, and we have a committee working on an inclusive language policy in alignment with our core values, specifically to be used for translation. So that's really exciting, and we are looking forward to that coming out shortly. I'm going to pass it over to Steele for the next two slides.
Thanks. I think everybody's aware that the Pressbooks Content Toolkit has been a big emphasis for us recently. And for many of you, who, especially those of you who are thinking about accessibility and how that's blooming this time of year. So just as a high-level reminder, the Pressbooks Content Toolkit is a suite of tools that are designed to make it easier for authors and publishers to ensure that their content is ready to publish and meet certain quality checks. It has four components. The first is what we call Accessibility Assist, and it's a tool that incorporates an open source product called Editorially and will check for common accessibility issues as authors are working through the book. We also have a scanner tool that we've built that takes Editorially and will run a scan of all of those rules on all of the content in your book and update a report with all known accessibility issues for a book. Those two things kind of work together. The third component is what's called Link Checker, and that is a service that we've built that a book administrator can request a scan of their book, and it will collect all of the links in the book and check to see which ones have issues and which ones seem to be working just fine based on what this bot is able to determine. And then the fourth thing is a tool for network managers that allows network managers to see the most recent accessibility scans and link checker scans for any book on their network, or to request multiple scans from a simple interface. That product's been available. Some of you have it active, others of you are exploring it, considering it. We want anybody who wants those things to have them as part of their standard networks. And one of the changes that we've made here is that during the course of the trial, we had daily book scan limits. We're limiting people to being able to scan each book just twice per day. Well, we don't need to implement those limits anymore. We found people weren't really abusing that and it was fine. So we've removed the daily limit on the number of times a book can be scanned. So an individual book can be scanned as many times as you want each day, though I don't foresee a situation where you'd really want to scan it lots and lots of times in a day. You could theoretically. The other thing that's changed is we had a base limit of 20 scans per network per day, and we bumped that from 20 to 25 as the standard base level. If you need it to be higher, you can talk to your account manager and we can adjust it as needed, but the base number of scans per network per day is now 25.
Steele,
Yeah,
there's
sorry.
a question in the chat for you. Just want to bring that to your attention.
Oh, correct. So the author tool will appear for, so the accessibility assist tool, yes, that appears with anybody who has the ability to access the visual editor, is my understanding. Yeah. So when I should have been more precise about the roles. Thank you, Linda. The other thing that has been released that we're quite excited about just recently is this. On the right-hand panel of this slide, you're seeing what the tooltip that appears in the visual editor if you're working with editorially. If you're working with the Accessibility Assist author tool. And here, the tooltip gives you plain language description of what the issue is. And previously, there were buttons that said, for a manual check, you could mark it as ignored, or you could mark it as okay because you manually checked it. Well, there are 33 different accessibility checks that can be run. And now for the vast majority of them, for nearly every accessibility check that's run, we now have provided a button that will let the user automatically fix that issue by clicking the button and taking some action. So we released a whole bunch of these last couple weeks ago, and then just this last week we released 9 additional automatic fixes. So now if you have just about any heading issue, any alt text issue, any issue with all caps or other kinds of common accessibility issues, they now have auto fix options where authors can quickly fix it from the tooltip without having to know magic HTML rules. Or once they fix it, they'll need to save or update the post, and then that issue should be resolved. So it's just a way to make fixing issues faster and easier for authors. We hope that your authors enjoy it, hope you enjoy it, and we hope it makes it easier to go from lots of issues to no issues on your books. And that's what I wanted to share there.
Great. So we do have some other accessibility updates. We've added missing area labels to network catalog pages. We've also fixed levels for chapter endnotes and PDF and EPUB exports. So those are now H2s instead of H3s. And we've added indicators when links open in a new tab, visual and for screen readers. So you can see the example below. There's the link there, and then the those little pop-up, those little boxes to indicate. Anything in addition you'd like to share about that, Oz or Steele?
Only thing that I would note is when you're working in the visual editor and you have a link that opens in a new tab, there will still be a notice that pops up and says, hey, you're opening this in a new tab. Are you sure you want to do that? If you ignore it or leave it alone, it's okay in Pressbooks because we have an accessible pattern for those links that announces it visually and to screen readers. But if you want to really not do that, which is probably still best practice, you could use the auto fix and stop it from opening a new tab. But whatever choice you make, you can now rest assured the outcome will be accessible for all.
Thank you. And over to you for custom fonts, Steele.
All right, this one's pretty exciting, I think, for network managers. So for many, many years, Pressbooks has shipped with a set of fonts and a set of themes that have their own fonts. And we've also had this little feature that lets you, when you're in an individual book, you can use theme options to select custom fonts from a list of open source fonts that we made available. We also know that many of you want to use proprietary typefaces or other fonts that we don't make available. And previously there was no way to do that. Let's say your institution purchased a font and they want to use it in all of their books, or they own your campus is really big on some official typeface. Well, up until now, there was not an easy way to do this, and now there is. So if you are a network manager, you now have the ability to upload custom licensed fonts. You should own the font. You should pay for a license if it's a proprietary font, but that's up to you. And once you do that, or if it's an open source font, there's an interface now that allows network managers to upload and manage those fonts. Once they've done so, those fonts will be available to any book on your network through the theme options or through custom CSS. The only thing to note is if you have uploaded custom fonts to your network, those fonts will only be available on your network. So if someone were to clone your book to their network, they would clone your CSS, but they're not going to also clone the font because they may not have a license for the font. So custom fonts will only work on the network that they've been uploaded to. This is the visual interface. If you are a network manager, you'll see it on your network dashboard. Under settings, there's a setting that now says custom fonts, and there's a new page with this admin interface. From this page, you would be able to upload any type of fonts you would like. You need to give it a font family. There's 4 variants that are supported. You don't have to provide all of them, but if it's the regular variant, the bold variant, italic variant, bold italic. Sometimes font families have special font files for each of those variants. Other times it's all just in a single font file. So whatever the case is for you, you can upload those. And then you'll need to specify whether this font is a serif or sans serif font, because we're going to have a font fallback family in case that font can't be rendered for whatever reason. In the example that you're seeing here, you're seeing the upload interface, and you're also seeing a registered fonts table. That registered fonts table is showing an example of a single new font in Consolata. Once that font's been uploaded, I uploaded it with the regular and the bold variant. You're able to download those font files and investigate them and make sure they're what you expect. You can also remove the variant or delete the font family from this interface. In this particular case, I've added in Consolata, a free Google font, to my network. And then if we go to the next slide, this is what an end user would see. In any book on your network, when you go into your theme options, whether it's web options, PDF, or ebook options, you'll see this little drop down that lets you select a header font and a body font. It presents a whole bunch of open source fonts, and it will also present any custom fonts that you've uploaded. So you can see in that screenshot that I'm showing, in Consolata is appearing in the list. It's now available. If someone applied it to their book, you're seeing in the right-hand pane a preview of the Malala font or the Malala theme that's using in Consolata this font as its header font. So we hope that you enjoy this feature. We hope that it's exciting. I'm happy to answer any questions about this. I know some of you have been waiting for this for a long time. Pressbooks have released a new open source book theme. It's called Hooks. It's named for Bell Hooks. If you don't know who Bell Hooks is, we hope that you'll learn. We love Bell Hooks. She was an inspiring author and feminist educator and social activist. And if you are an open source Pressbooks network, you can now install and add this font to your network. If you're an enterprise client, this font has replaced the Andreessen theme. I don't want to say too much about Andreessen, but if you are following the last 5 to 10 years of news, you'll understand that we wanted the names of themes that we're using for our books to better reflect our organization's values. So there is no more Andreessen theme. Instead, there is a Hooks theme. If you were using the Andreessen theme on your network or in any of your books, on our enterprise networks, we've silently updated and changed those. No action is required. You're now using the Hooks theme in those places. If you wanted to change a theme to Andreessen, you can't, but you can change it to Hooks now. And it's the same theme, just with a much better name. So that's what we've done and why we've done it. There's the link there is to a forum post that's explaining more about it. If you or your users notice anything unexpected in your use of that theme or in the exports, please let us know, contact Premium Support or respond to the forum post. But so far in our testing, it seems smooth and no action is required. And we're just glad to have a theme name for bell hooks.
So we do have some more updates. We have added responsive style for tables and banners, and good news for any Pressbook contributors. We've upgraded our front end build tools. So Vite is now powering local dev with hot module replacement, faster builds, and native ES6 modules. Pull the latest and enjoy the speed boost. I'll be honest, I have no idea what that second sentence actually means. So I would love for anyone to provide that update for us.
I would just say, Amanda, what this means for if you're a Pressbooks network manager, an end user, it has no impact on you. But if you are a developer and you're trying to improve Pressbooks or open a pull request, it's just going to make your experience a lot smoother. We're using modern tools to build and compile all of our stuff. So it's a huge improvement if you're a developer. If you're a regular end user, everything's just as great as it was before.
Nice.
Yes, thank you for that.
Okay, so as mentioned before, we are doing some more work around micro-credentials, and we are looking at how to develop short-form learning content for micro-credential type learning experiences. So we are in early developments of a micro-credential authoring platform, and we've started a prototype project with Maricopa Community College District. If you have any interest in sharing with us on a discovery call about the creation and delivery of learning content for this type of program, please contact me or also share my email with folks at your institution who might be doing this type of work that you think might benefit from assisting us. We'd love to hear from you. So we do want to share some webinars and events and conferences that are coming up. We saw that there was definitely a need for another accessibility webinar. So we will be hosting another one April 1st from 12 to 1 Eastern time. And we had a great turnout at our last accessibility webinar. We wanted to keep the momentum going. If you missed it last time or you know of folks who want to attend, please have them attend. As always, we do our Getting Started with Pressbooks webinar. This one's happening on April 8th. Creating Engaging Learning Materials is happening April 14th. And Preparing Your Book for Publication and Distribution. We have one happening on Monday, March 30th, and then another one happening a month later on April 30th.
If you need an extra reason to come to the accessibility one,
Yeah. What is
Liz
it?
Thompson's going to help us present, who's here at this call. So
Oh, that's exciting.
special
Well,
guest star.
I love that. And one thing I want to put out there is if there are training webinar ideas that you feel are needed, that you would like to see us engage in, you can send us a note. It's always interesting to hear from folks as to what they need support in, but also what their institutions might need support in. So do reach out to us. So in terms of conferences coming up, we've got a couple. UKSG is an annual conference that's in Glasgow, and we have our CEO Bashak and sales lead John will be attending that conference. So they will be there next week, which is exciting. And May 21st is the Florida Virtual Summit, and I will be hosting a panel for that particular summit. We actually are the keynotes for that particular event, so I hope you can join us 9:15 a.m. And the Florida Virtual Summit is a free event. The Library of Publishing Forum Steel will be at in Seattle, June 17th and 18th. So if you are going to be there or know of folks attending, As you know, Steel's always a great time at a conference, so be sure to reach out to him.
And I'm going to be presenting with Lauren Ray, who's here at this call. So,
Oh,
Lauren.
great.
Yeah.
Lauren,
And a
perfect.
few other people. I'm not sure if they're at this call, so if I left you out, I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, that's great. So this is always a really fun time for us to get to I'm stopping sharing. Um, this is always a really great time for us to better hear what's happening in your world. Are there projects of interest? Do you have questions about some of the product updates we shared? Is there anything happening in your area that you want to highlight? We'd love to hear from you.
All right, I have a question for network managers, and we are thinking about, I think we might have mentioned this to some of you, but I got a pug late last year, and we're thinking about starting something for network managers that would be called Pressbooks Users Group, and then the acronym would be PUG. Of course, my pub will be our mascot. And what we're imagining is something like a monthly or bi-monthly, largely informal user group of network managers where we discuss topics of interest. And we have a number of ideas that have come to us from the last survey. So, for example, how do you publish and distribute your books, make sure that they're discoverable? Or how do you administer books and users and remove abandoned book projects and weed your list of users? Or, for example, what's your process for pre-publication checks and peer review? Those are some examples of the kinds of topics that we might discuss or cover. What I'm really curious for those of you who are here, what are other challenges or needs or things that you would want to have a session where you talk with peers about their approach to X or Y as a Pressbooks network manager or someone who runs and administers a publishing program? Lauren, go ahead.
Um, yeah, I probably have like 10 ideas for this, but my brain is struggling this morning. I think I'm kind of curious about how other network managers do trainings at their own institution. I used to host a lot of drop-in sort of get started with Pressbooks or Pressbooks Part 2 sessions, and then when you guys started offering those, I was like, great, I don't need to do that as much anymore. But I'm sort of feeling a need for bringing back some like UW specific webinars. And yeah, I think I'd be curious to talk about that, like trainings and consultations and outreach around Pressbooks and how that's being done. Right now, it's all about accessibility, given the deadline coming up. But yeah, just curious how people structure that, how you let people know,
Mhm.
how you kind of know which topics to focus on.
I,
Uh, and then
I think it,
another one,
yeah, please.
now
So
that I'm thinking of it,
you're talking about user training and maybe even new user onboarding when like institution specific, maybe.
yeah, institution, like how do other network managers get the word out about Pressbooks? And then maybe if you're hosting like Zoom sessions, like for multi faculty in different departments, how do you kind of structure those and what are you offering? And then the other thing is a lot of that I do now is for students in large classes. And how are people using Pressbooks in classrooms where students are co-creating books? Um, Particularly like structuring the books or having, I'm working with a class this quarter where I'm making template chapters. They're case studies for a graduate class in construction management. And to get the students to really follow good heading structure, good formatting, I have to go in and make templated chapters. And just things like that. Like, how do people walk students of all different abilities through Pressbooks? And yeah, and I have some resources that are openly licensed that I've made that I'm happy to share with others around that, but would be interested in knowing how others do those things, and definitely would love one on managing your network and you know uh no longer active books, that kind of thing. So
When I interrupted you earlier, were you about to say the second thing, or was there a different one? Okay, good. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Lauren. That's a great suggestion. I like those. Anyone else that's here as a network manager? Uh, I want to pick on Shauna if she's willing. Shauna, you do a lot of interesting things at Fanshawe. Is there something you'd want to share at a user group or that you'd want to hear about at a user group that would be useful for you all?
As someone else kind of pointed out in the chat, I think any opportunity to just chat is really good. And I'm a little bad about checking the discussion boards. I don't know why it is, and I try to remind myself to go there often. So yeah, if there's another kind of avenue where, yeah, you're kind of forced maybe to kind of sit and chat with people, that might be more helpful for me. I don't know why I don't go to discussion boards, but yeah, it's not something I think to do often. So I will say that.
I think that's really relatable. I prefer people than discussion boards a lot of times myself. So yeah, one of the other topics that I think people had proposed was how you use analytics or how you use stats and how you might report to them for people who are funding your program or even for book authors to understand that. I see Liz coming alive here. Is that something you want to speak about, Liz? Yeah, go ahead.
It was actually a note that I had made to myself about like learning better how to use the dashboards. And wondering if there's a way to better share that information with authors and editors. So yeah, that would be of interest to me.
And when you say how to use the dashboard, you're talking about like the various tools that are available to network managers to see what's happening on your network? Or tell me more what you mean by using the dashboards. Yeah.
So I don't use my dashboard very well. So I guess, yeah, amongst our network managers, I think being able to see that, but then also talking to authors and book administrators too about how they use their analytics.
Yeah, like how to get more out of your network with the available tools, because some of them are probably underused. I like that, Liz. Yeah.
Jill, I don't know if you saw Alyssa's comment in the chat. I like the idea of learning community too. Right now, I would just want to learn from others. We could benefit from processes for abandoned books, weeding out users that no longer use Pressbooks.
Yeah, thank you, Alyssa. That's hopefully the idea. Jamie or Cheryl, I mean, you always have good ideas for me. I mean, I've already picked on a couple of people. What are topics that would be meaningful to you or that you think you could contribute to?
I'll go. I would say all of the above. I'm just beginning to delve into some of the analytics here, and I'm using that information to kind of decide what we might archive. We have a lot of start and stops here at TCC, so we have faculty who are super excited about it, and they jump in and they start a book, and then I find, the last time they looked at it was 4 months ago, and so I guess. I'm just rambling. Sorry. All of this would be beneficial to me. Specifically for me, what might be helpful is conversations around, because I'm sort of in that weird spot where I'm an institution manager, but I'm not the network manager. So there are things for our larger network that are still pending simply because the one person who has those network powers, she's just got 1,000 other things on her plate, and so she generally does the things that we need her to do because I'm at these meetings and I say, hey, we need to turn on the whatever, and so I guess just maybe conversations about how I could do a better job being that middle person. And then a separate but also very important topic is I struggle with how much to actually do on my own in their books and how much I really need to offload back on the faculty to make link updates and that kind of thing. I struggle a little bit with that workflow, but I dabble in OER. My real job is I'm an instruction librarian, so I fitting some of this in effectively is tricky.
Jamie, that's a terrific topic, and I saw a bunch of people nodding. Linda, you had a comment that maybe echoes this a little bit. I wanted to draw that out from you a little bit. Jamie, you're talking about how to strike the right balance between what do I do for people and what do I help them or expect them to do? Or also, how do I remotivate a stalled project? What do I take it over? If something's close but not quite there, what to do? And I see you nodding, Linda. Was that what you're speaking to or something different?
Yeah, I think it was that a little bit. And, I find that as I'm reflecting on it now, I ha we all wear a lot of hats. And even within my OER hat, there are a lot of projects. And it's hard to just keep track. It's hard to remember to go back and check to see if anything's happening. It's hard to remember. I mean, I guess these are basic project management things, but I don't really at this point have an organized way to prompt myself to reach out and nudge people, that kind of thing. So yeah, I know what those strategies are, but if I could learn from folks who are using them effectively, I
Totally.
think that would really help.
So, like tips and approaches for project management for many ongoing projects. That's not specifically a Pressbooks tool because we don't provide any project management. But learning how other people do it and hearing ideas would be, I think, a really valuable half hour spent. I like that idea a lot, Linda and Jamie. Yeah, thanks. Um, are there any other ideas that were sparked from that conversation for topics you want to hear? I'm taking notes about all this. I think Jen probably is too. This is hopefully something you'll see us announce in a future meeting soon. Cheryl, you're coming to life, maybe? Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I'm under the weather, so I'm off camera. But um, I would love discussions around processes like peer review, copy editing. We're doing a Spanish translation, which I've never done before, and what will be the workflow for that? Do we provide the Word documents? Do we have them do the translation within Pressbooks? Print on demand is another thing we've struggled with. I loved Lauren's idea of sharing documents that we've developed internally that other people could adapt. One issue we're struggling with in the midst of alerting authors about these new accessibility rules is that we're having authors say, well, just archive it. I don't want to deal with the book anymore. Or I'm moving it to a commercial publisher and I want to delete the book. And we're saying, well, no, no, you can't do that. So we clearly need to change some documentation around authors. Like, okay, creating a press book is kind of like adopting a puppy. You can't suddenly decide to stop feeding it and taking care of it. You need a long-term plan. You can We have a lot of abandoned projects, like other people have said, and clearly, we want to encourage experimentation with the platform, but yeah, weeding out those abandoned projects and people who have decided, nah, I'm moving on to a new press book. I don't want to deal with the one I created before that's heavily used and needs to be maintained. I'm just going to abandon it. It's been really disappointing to hear.
I see everybody nodding, so I think you've really struck a chord with. I mean, this is the maintenance question. Like, at first, we're really excited to get projects started, and then we're really excited to get projects published, and then we're like, oh, now we have to maintain them, and we're still getting other projects started, and we're getting so sometimes it can add up, and that maintenance burden or that kind of sustainability question is one I think that would be a really fruitful conversation. I'm sure there's lots of good ideas, and maybe even just commiseration. Maybe sometimes that's all we can offer, but sometimes it feels nice to not be alone. Yeah. Oh, Linda, that's really interesting. Linda said in the chat, maybe a session where folks share language from MOUs. We don't have one, but I know we need one. And an MOU in this case means a memorandum of understanding. I assume that you mean an agreement between you as the publisher or the publishing provider and the author and the creator, but help me fill in the gaps if I misunderstood that.
No, that's it exactly. We tend to do things on a very case by case basis, which is sort of not helpful with our own workflows because every project is different and every relationship is different, and the expectations are never explicitly spelled out. Definitely not in writing, but often not verbally at all.
Yeah, and I think there's probably a range of practices. There's some people that are coming from more of the university press model where it's like contracts. We don't work with you until you have a contract. And there's other people that are like, let a thousand flowers bloom. I met you in the hallway once. You've now got a Pressbooks book, like, uh, and there's a spectrum in between, I think. Lauren, I know you've also, I believe it was you, but you and maybe some folks from Houston were sharing some of the not exactly contract, but the how to help students make licensing decisions or creators make licensing decisions when they're if I'm doing an open pedagogy project and the professor wants the book to be this license, how do I inform and seek consent, or how do I help authors choose appropriate licenses? Am I misremembering that, or is that a topic that you maybe? I don't know.
I Yeah, I talked to faculty about that, and we've sort of like shifted our MOU so that I give faculty an MOU to give to their students, and they can kind of adapt it, and so it's out of my hands. But I strongly suggest that they do that. So yeah, where I'm a very like let a thousand flowers bloom person, which has led to hundreds of books on the network and lots of everybody's doing everything all the time and I don't know what it is, and there's positives and negatives with that. But I do have a template, like a book finalization checklist template for faculty that then links to a MOU that they can use and adapt for their class, that I think that I'm happy to share with others. That might be what you're thinking of, but yeah, it includes that kind of licensing student agency piece in it. So
I don't even know if we need a Pressbooks user group. This is already our first Pressbooks user group meeting. You just ask Lauren and then something like that. So, no, but this is maybe a miniature model. I don't want this whole conversation to become one, but this is a miniature model for what I hope we would be able to do and some structured conversations around that. Jen and I are working, or many of us are working on this idea, and we hope to have something to announce. Those of you who are here with these ideas, you'll probably recognize some of the forthcoming topics. And I hope you come and invite others, and that we make a mutually supportive community, more mutually supportive.
Thank you.
I
Any
have
other?
something to announce that I totally forgot to put into and I need to find a link quickly, but many of you probably know that we do a book of the month at Pressbooks where we select something we want to highlight. And we've been talking for a while about wanting to make this process more inclusive of the community. So we're actually starting a process where you can nominate something for the book of the month. Um, and then we evaluate that internally. So I'm just going to actually grab the link to the nomination form, and we're hoping that folks from our community will nominate books that from their institutions that they're proud of. So I will put that in here when I find it.
Speaking of which, does anybody have recent or forthcoming books that they published that they want to share in the roundtable like we often do? This is from Christine Rickabaugh. She's from the University of Arkansas, couldn't be here today, but they published three really interesting books. I'll put them in the chat. I think it's three. I'm not sure if I can count correctly. No, I meant two. Okay. I put it in the chat here. But they have just released a really interesting book called Peer Observation of Teaching, a practice guide for college teachers. So they have a series that's called the Open Faculty Success Series, and it's meant basically for helping university instructors improve their teaching. And this book is all about peer observation of teaching, which is a really interesting practice that some centers of teaching learning have been developing in the last, I don't know, couple of decades. I thought this book was outstanding. I wish I had had something like this when I was helping to run a college teaching program. And then they also have another book in the series that's called Coaching Connections, a practical guide for college teachers. So they're really focused on that kind of faculty professional development angle. If there's people on your campus that are doing teaching learning stuff that are interested in either peer observation of teaching or faculty coaching, both of those resources looked excellent to me, and they might be of interest to you. Jen, I don't know if this is coming up as your book of the month, but that Indigenous Workways one, is
I
that?
chose that for March.
Okay, never mind. So then look for the next one in March. Okay.
Thanks, Linda. Appreciate you being here. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for attending and as always being so engaging and just offering, especially for this idea for the pug group. We're really excited to host it and get it going. And as always, reach out either via the forum or through the support emails if you have any questions. And we will, if I don't see you before, I will see you at the product update meeting next month. Thanks, everyone.